Welcome back to the deep dive. I hope you're sitting comfortably, maybe with a cup of coffee, or maybe you're on your commute, watching the world go by.
We always say that, but for today's topic, you might actually want to be sitting down.
Yeah, that's probably good advice.
Yeah.
Because today, we are going to take you on a journey that starts in a place you probably recognize. It's a place that looks, on the surface, just completely serene. We're talking about the suburban dream.
You know the look. The manicured lawns, the hedge that is trimmed to the exact millimeter, the security guard who salutes you when you drive in. It's that picture-perfect image of community living.
Exactly. It's the picture of the good life. Order, safety, community. Specifically, today we are looking at a community called Vasanth Vihar, and an organization with a very long, very official-sounding name.
Oh, it's a mouthful.
It is. The Vasanth Vihar Army Residents Welfare Association, or VVARWA for short.
VVARWA.
Now, usually when you hear a name like Residents Welfare Association, your brain probably shuts off a little bit. I know mine does.
It sounds incredibly mundane, doesn't it? You think about arguments over who didn't pick up after their dog, or whether the clubhouse curtains should be beige or, I don't know, off-white.
That is exactly what I thought when I first looked at the stack of sources we have for today. I thought, okay, neighborhood drama, but, and this is a massive but, once you start to peel back the layers of the source material we have today, you don't find a petty squabble.
Not at all.
You find a story that reads like a forensic legal thriller. We're looking at a stack of documents involving what they call a rogue homeowners association, allegations of constitutional privacy violations, a phantom landlord scenario, financial opacity involving huge sums of money, and potentially criminal tax evasion.
It really is a masterclass in what we call governance failure. It's suburban noir, and the protagonist of this story, if we can call him that, isn't a detective or a lawyer. He's a resident.
A resident named Chandra Nath. And he didn't just write an angry email or, a complaint letter.
No, he armed himself with a document containing 124 critical thinking questions.
124 questions. I mean, I struggled to come up with 3 intelligent questions during a work meeting. This is next-level dedication.
It's a strategy. It's weaponized inquiry.
So just to lay it out for you, the listener, we have this formal representation and objection, we have a governance audit, and we have something called a fiduciary failure matrix.
Which sounds like the most legally terrifying spreadsheet in existence.
It really does. So our mission today is to unpack this. We want to understand how a local governance body, people who are essentially your neighbors volunteering to run the place, can allegedly spiral into what the documents call ultra-vires acts.
Ultra-vires is a key phrase we're going to be using a lot today. It's Latin for beyond the powers. It means doing something you literally do not have the legal authority to do.
So it's not just doing something badly.
No, it's not just negligence. It's doing something you aren't allowed to do at all. It's like a library trying to issue speeding tickets. They just don't have the power.
And before you, our listener, tune out thinking, well, I don't live in Vasanth Vihar, why do I care? Tell them why this matters.
This matters because VVARWA is a case study. If you live in an apartment complex, a gated community, a co-op, or any managed housing society, you are subject to these same laws and dynamics. This deep dive touches on your fundamental right to privacy, your property rights, and the terrifying financial liability you might share if your managing committee goes rogue.
It's about the heavy burden of fiduciary duty.
Which is another term we'll be breaking down.
So if you own a home in a managed community, or even if you rent one, this is your wake-up call. Let's unpack this. We need to start with the spark, the flashpoint. It wasn't money initially that started this whole war, right? It was paperwork.
It was. The conflict began innocuously enough, as these things so often do. The association, VVARWA, issued a demand. They wanted every single homeowner to submit scanned copies of their registered sale deeds.
Okay, let's pause and define that. A sale deed. That's the big, thick legal document you sign when you buy a house. It's the proof of ownership.
Correct. It is the definitive proof. It describes the property, the price paid, the buyer, the seller. It is the title. And the reason the association gave for this demand was for record updation.
Record updation. That sounds so administrative.
Yeah.
So harmless. We just need to update our files, sir.
Exactly. And for 99% of people, that probably works. You think, oh, the office needs a copy, and you hand it over. You want to be a good neighbor. You don't want to be the difficult one.
But Chandra Nath, the resident behind these documents, he hit the brakes immediately.
He did. He basically said, hold on a minute.
And frankly, looking at his argument in the source material, I would too. I mean, why does the guy running the gate security or the volunteer treasurer who, might be in a dentist need a copy of my property title?
That is the core question. The source material highlights that Vivarwa is registered under the Karnataka Registration of Societies Act, 1960. It's a society. It has a specific limited scope defined by law. And the objection filed by the resident argues that there is absolutely no statutory authority, nothing in the act, nothing in their own bylaws, that gives this association the power to demand private title documents from its members.
So they just asked for it because
Yeah.
they wanted it.
Essentially, they probably thought it would be useful to have, maybe they wanted to verify square footage for maintenance fees, or maybe they just wanted a complete database for some reason. But this is where we get into that ultra-virus concept again.
Beyond their powers.
Exactly. You cannot demand documents from citizens just because you feel like it. You are not the government. You are, in essence, a private club. You can't just invent powers for yourself.
The objection goes deeper than just you can't do that.
Yeah.
I mean, it goes way deeper. It invokes the Constitution.
The Constitution of India over a sale deed in a housing society.
Yes. And this is where the source material gets really, really interesting from a legal standpoint. The source cites the Justice K.S. Puttaswamy, Red Ad, Gary Dead, Union of India judgment by the Supreme Court.
Ah, the Puttaswamy judgment. That is the heavy artillery of privacy law in India.
It is. I mean, for those who don't follow this, that was the landmark ruling that definitively established privacy as a fundamental right under Article 21, the right to life and liberty.
It was massive. The Supreme Court laid down a three-part test. If you, and by you I mean the state or any authority, want to intrude on someone's privacy, if you want to collect their data, you need to satisfy three conditions.
Okay, what are they?
First, legality. There must be a law that allows it, a clear existing law. Second, a legitimate goal. You need a good, valid reason that serves a public purpose. And third, proportionality. The intrusion must not be excessive compared to the goal you're trying to achieve. It has to be the least intrusive method possible.
And the argument from Chandranath is that the association fails on all three counts.
Completely. It strikes out. There is no law mandating they hold these deeds. The goal record updation is incredibly vague. It's not a legitimate state aim. And the risk is wildly disproportionate to that vague goal.
Let's talk about that risk. Because a sale deed isn't just a piece of paper with your name on it. It's a financial dossier.
It absolutely is. Let's walk through what is actually on a sale deed. It shows exactly how much you paid for your house, down to the last rupee. It often lists your PAN number. That's your permanent account number for taxes. It lists who you bought it from, their details.
Long terms more, right.
Oh, yeah. It might contain details of your bank loan, including the branch, maybe even the loan account number. It has your full name, your address, your signature.
So if I have your sale deed, I have your signature, your tax ID, your address, your exact property value, and your banking relationships. That is a starter kit for identity theft.
It is a goldmine for fraudsters. And the audit asks a very practical, very chilling question. Where are these documents being stored?
Right. We aren't talking about a bank vault here. We're talking about an RWA office, a little room somewhere near the clubhouse.
Exactly. Is it a secure, encrypted server with two-factor authentication and regular security audits? Or is it a dusty old desktop computer running Windows 7, sitting in an unlocked room where the plumber, the electrician, and the security guard all wander in and out?
And is the password admin123?
Or, written on a sticky note pasted to the monitor. The source mentions the risks of data misuse and a lack of purpose limitation.
Purpose limitation. That's a key data privacy concept, isn't it?
It is, and it's really important. It means if I give you my phone number so you can deliver a pizza to my house, you can't then turn around and use that number to start selling me insurance. You can only use my data for the specific purpose I gave it to you for.
And here, there's no defined purpose.
Or the purpose is so broad as to be meaningless. Records. What does that even mean? Without a strict policy, what's stopping a rogue employee or even a committee member from taking a thumb drive with 200 sale deeds on it and selling that data to, say, aggressive real estate brokers or loan sharks, or using it to commit sophisticated financial fraud? It's terrifying. So the residents' demand is what?
It's very clear. The immediate return or deletion of these digitized records. It's essentially a right-to-be-forgotten demand made to a housing society. He's saying, you took this without authority, you're holding a toxic asset, give it back before you get sued into oblivion.
It really highlights the audacity of the demand in the first place.
Yeah.
Hand over your most private financial documents so we can update a spreadsheet.
It sets the stage for the mindset of this committee, doesn't it? If they feel entitled to your private papers, what else do they feel entitled to?
Exactly. And as we dig deeper into the sources, it turns out this demand for papers might just be a symptom of a much, much larger confusion about who actually owns what in this community.
Which brings us to Section 2 of our deep dive, the phantom landlord.
The phantom landlord. It sounds spooky, but it sounds like we're moving from privacy law to property law.
We are. And this is a concept that I think shocks a lot of homeowners when they first hear it. It's one of those things you just assume is taken care of. Okay, so to understand this, we have to talk about a specific legal document, a deed of conveyance. Unpack that for us.
Okay. When a builder develops a large community, they start by owning all the land. They build the houses, they build the internal roads, the parks, the clubhouse, the sewage treatment plant, everything. It's all theirs.
Right. Standard procedure.
Then they sell the individual houses or apartments to people like you and me. We get a sale deed for our plot of land, our little piece of the pie. We own our 30 by 40 site or our 3-bedroom apartment.
Right. So I own my house. I have the paper to prove it. I'm good.
You own your house. But here's the billion-dollar question.
Yeah.
Who owns the roads you drive on to get to your house? Who owns the park where your kids play? Who owns the land under the clubhouse?
I assume the association owns it. That's how it usually works, isn't it? I mean, we all chip in and pay maintenance for it. So we must own it collectively.
That's the assumption everyone makes. And it's a perfectly logical assumption. But legally, ownership of those common areas only transfers from the builder to the association if the builder executes a specific document called a deed of conveyance. Until that specific legal paper is signed, stamped, and registered, the association does not own the land.
So it's not automatic. You have to get this separate deed.
It is not automatic. And what does the source material say about RWA?
I have a feeling I know where this is going.
The source drops a bombshell. No such deed has been executed.
Wait, so the association, the people running the place, collecting our maintenance fees, they don't actually own the common areas, the roads, the parks.
According to this governance audit, RWA does not hold the title to the common areas. The builder, for whatever reason, has not conveyed it to them.
So they don't own the land. Who does? The builder still.
That's the legal gray area. Ostensibly, yes, the title may still be with the builder. The association is an occupant. They are acting as caretakers. Legally, until that conveyance happens, the managing committee, the MC, is just a trustee for the residents.
Their only job is to maintain and protect the property.
That's it. They are house sitters.
Okay, I like the house sitter analogy. Let's play that out. If I hire a house sitter to, water my plants and watch my dog while I'm in Italy for a month.
You expect them to keep the house clean, make sure the dog is fed, and not throw any wild parties.
Right. But imagine I come back from Italy and I find out the house sitter has sold my antique dining table to the neighbor.
Or has rented out your master bedroom on Airbnb.
I would call the police. That's theft. That's fraud.
And that is the analogy the listener should keep in mind here. The source alleges that despite not owning the land, the managing committee has alienated or encumbered portions of these common areas.
Alienated is lawyer speak for selling or giving away rights to property, isn't it?
Yes. Selling, leasing, licensing, granting easements, any act that transfers some right or interest in the property to someone else. The documents allege that there have been transactions involving these common areas. They are dealing in property they do not own.
And the source says some areas have been subjected to multiple transactions or overlapping claims. What does that mean?
It means it's a mess. It means they might have, for example, granted usage rights for a piece of land to one person, and then later granted conflicting rights for the same piece of land to someone else.
So they're selling the same rug twice.
Potentially. Or they're creating a legal nightmare of competing claims. And this is where that concept of fiduciary duty comes in with a vengeance. If you are a trustee, a caretaker, your highest, most sacred duty is to protect the asset.
Not sell it off.
Especially not sell it off when you don't even have the title. You are breaching that trust in the most fundamental way. You are acting like a landlord when you are actually just a tenant representative.
And this creates a huge legal mess, doesn't it? Because if I buy a piece of land from someone who doesn't actually own it.
You don't own it either. You've just bought a lawsuit. You haven't bought land. And for the association, by engaging in these transactions without the competence, that's the legal term for having the power to do so, they are exposing the entire community to massive litigation risks.
Who could sue?
Everybody. The builder could wake up one day, realize they still own the land, and sue to have all these transactions declared void. The people who bought these rights could sue the association for misrepresentation when they find out their title is worthless, and the homeowners themselves could sue the committee for damaging their collective assets.
It's a house of cards built on a legal fiction.
It really is. And the source implies that this lack of conveyance might be intentional or at least a matter of convenient neglect. Because if you don't officially own it, there's less oversight. But if you are selling it, you are operating in a completely unregulated gray market.
And this isn't just a theoretical legal mess. There is money changing hands. A lot of money. Which brings us to the next section of this whole affair, the money engine. This is the part of the source material that really made my eyes widen. We are talking about 52.7 lakhs.
Approximately 52.7 lakhs, yes. For a residents' welfare association, that is a significant sum of money. That's not bake sale money, that's serious capital.
And it wasn't labeled donation or membership fees or say to hide what it really is, to make it look like it's not income.
The audit asks exactly that. Refund of which project? If it's a refund, that means the association must have spent money on a project first. Which one? To whom is it owed? Why is money coming in as a refund? The source argues that this label is, at best, opaque and, at worst, deliberately misleading.
It's accounting camouflage.
It is. If it was a sale, call it a sale. If it was a lease payment, call it a lease payment. Calling it a refund muddies the waters. It makes income look like, well, not income, which has serious tax implications we'll get to.
It sounds like money laundering 101. Not that we are accusing them of laundering, of course, but the technique of mislabeling funds to obscure their origin and purpose is a classic red flag.
It's certainly a technique used to avoid scrutiny. But the real scandal, according to the documents, isn't just the label. It's the valuation of the transaction itself.
This is the money engine theory from the audit, right? The idea that the managing committee viewed the common areas not as precious community assets to be protected for everyone, but as a private revenue source they could tap into. A money engine.
But, and here is the critical catch, if you are going to monetize common land, assuming you even have the right to, which we've established they likely don't, you have a fiduciary duty to get the best possible price for the community.
You have to maximize the value for the people you represent.
You have to. You can't give away the family silver. And what does the source say about this transaction?
This is the killer detail. The source alleges this transaction was undervalued at 1/18 of the prevailing market rate.
1/8. Let that sink in. That is 12.5% of the real value. Let's put that in concrete terms. Imagine your community has a small, unused piece of land that a proper valuation says is worth, let's say, 4 crores.
Okay, 4 crores. That's a lot of potential value for the community. With that money, we could fix all the roads, repaint the entire complex, maybe even lower the maintenance fees for years.
Exactly. It's a game changer. But instead of getting 4 crores for it, the committee does a deal and gets roughly 50 lakhs.
That is insane. You've just vaporized 3.5 crores of community wealth. That's like selling a brand new Ferrari for the price of a used Honda Civic.
Precisely. And this screams opportunity cost at the very least, and something much worse at the most. The homeowners have effectively lost 3.5 crores of value. So the next logical question is, where did that value go? Who got the benefit of that massive discount?
The person on the other side of the deal.
Right. And the source asks the obvious pointed questions. Was there a competitive bidding process? Did they hold a public auction? Did they put out a formal tender inviting bids from everyone?
And the implication from the source is a resounding no.
Because if you hold a public auction, you generally get the market rate. The market decides the price. When you do a deal behind closed doors without any competition and the price ends up being 1/18 of the market value, it raises some very uncomfortable questions.
Uncomfortable questions like, was this just gross incompetence? Or was it favoritism to a friend? Or was there, a kickback involved?
The source is very careful. It doesn't assert criminal guilt, but it highlights all of these red flags. It asks, who were the beneficiaries and what relationships, if any, existed between the beneficiaries and the committee members? When you sell a valuable asset for pennies on the dollar, usually someone on the other side is making a killing.
And the loser is the community.
The loser is always the community because they lost the asset and they lost 87.5% of the money they should have gotten for it.
So to recap, we have a phantom landlord selling property they don't own for a fraction of what it's worth and recording the money under a confusing and suspicious label. It sounds bad. But then the source material pivots to something that sounds even worse: the tax trap.
And this is where the rubber meets the road. Or rather, where the road meets the Indian Penal Code and the Income Tax Act. The governance audit lays out something it calls a statutory exposure matrix.
And this shifts the conversation from you guys made a really bad deal to you guys might have committed serious financial crimes.
That is a terrifying shift for anyone on a volunteer committee. Let's run through the risks, because the matrix lists 3 specific ones. Risk number 1.
Stamp duty.
Okay, so stamp duty is a tax paid to the state government based on the value of a property transaction.
Right. It's usually a percentage of the sale price. In a place like Karnataka, it's a fairly high percentage. It's a major source of revenue for the government.
But the key thing is, it's supposed to be based on the market value or the consideration, whichever is higher. The government has its own guidance values for property. If you sell a property worth 4 crores, but you write down in the agreement that you only sold it for 50 lakhs, and you only pay stamp duty on that 50 lakhs.
You're cheating the government out of the tax on that other 3.5 crores.
And the government hates that. That is classic black money stuff. They have entire departments dedicated to finding undervalued transactions. The source frames this as potential evasion. It's not just a clerical error, it's a material underreporting of value.
And the penalties are huge, right?
Massive. They don't just ask for the difference. They can impose penalties up to 10 times the deficient duty. They can impound the documents. It can lead to prosecution.
Okay, that's 1. Risk number 2 in the matrix.
Income tax. The association received this 52.7 lakhs. The fundamental question is, was it declared as taxable income on their annual returns?
And if they called it a refund, maybe they tried to claim it wasn't income at all.
That's the danger. That's the trap of that label. If they treated it as a non-taxable receipt on their books, but in reality it was payment for land rights or development rights, it is absolutely taxable income. If they didn't declare it, that is concealment of income.
Which is a crime. Section 276C of the Income Tax Act.
Willful attempt to evade tax, yes. And that's not just a fine, it carries jail time. And on top of that, there's a penalty of up to 300% of the tax that was evaded. So the financial hit could be enormous.
Okay, so stamp duty, income tax, and risk number 3.
GST. The goods and services tax. Most people think of GST on products, but it also applies to services. And if you are licensing development rights or giving your consent for construction for a fee or selling usage rights to common land, that is considered a supply of service under the GST laws.
And services are taxed.
Usually at 18%. The audit asks some very pointed questions here. Was a threshold analysis done to see if GST applied? Was GST collected from the third party? Was it remitted to the government? If the answer to any of those is no, the association is now on the hook for the unpaid tax plus penalties plus interest, which can accumulate very, very quickly.
This sounds like a complete financial nightmare for the homeowners, because at the end of the day, if the association goes broke paying all these fines and back taxes, who pays?
The homeowners do. We are the association. The residents end up footing the bill for the committee's alleged evasion. If the association gets hit with a 2-crore fine from the tax department, every household is going to get a demand notice for their share. Your maintenance fees are going to skyrocket to pay for it.
But wait, the source mentions personal liability. Can't we go after the people who actually signed the checks and made these decisions?
That is exactly what the source warns, and it's perhaps the most frightening part for the committee members themselves. It brings up the legal concept of willful blindness.
Willful blindness. I love that term. It sounds like a legal thriller title. What does it mean in this context?
It means you cannot claim ignorance if you were explicitly told about a problem and chose to do nothing. It's the ostrich defense, sticking your head in the sand. The law says if you suspect wrongdoing but deliberately refuse to investigate because you don't want to know the truth, you are just as guilty as if you knew all along.
And the source emphasizes that the MC was put on notice. This isn't just an audit finding things after the fact. Chandranath wrote to them. He laid out these irregularities in writing.
This is the crucial turning point. This is what elevates it. Before Chandranath's letter, they could perhaps claim, oops, we didn't know the law. We're just volunteers trying our best. We aren't accountants or lawyers. That would probably be classified as negligence.
But after the letter? After receiving a formal documented representation detailing the 18th valuation and the specific tax risks.
Ignoring it isn't negligence anymore.
What is it then?
The source suggests it moves from negligence into the realm of culpable concealment or even criminal breach of trust. You knew or had every reason to know, and you proceeded anyway, or you actively covered it up.
And the document warns that the office bearers, the president, the treasurer, the secretary, could be held personally liable.
Yes. Normally, the corporate veil of the society protects volunteers from the association's debts. But that veil can be pierced in cases of fraud, malfeasance, or criminal evasion. If you are the president and you knowingly sign a balance sheet that conceals taxable income, you can be prosecuted personally.
So it's not the association's bank account on the line anymore. It's your personal one.
It's your house, your savings, your reputation. Everything could be at risk.
That puts a whole new spin on volunteering for the HOA, doesn't it?
It does. It means if you take the job, you better know the law or at least be willing to listen when someone points out that you might be breaking it.
So we have this resident, Chandranath, who sees all this. He sees the privacy breach, the phantom landlord acts, the suspicious money, the massive tax evasion risks. Most people in this situation would probably just, I don't know, sell their house and move. Or maybe just rant on the community WhatsApp group for a while.
Or just give up. You can't fight City Hall. Right. It feels hopeless.
Right. But Chandranath did something else. He did something incredibly strategic. He wrote the 124 CTQs.
This is my favorite part of the source material because it's so clever. It is the weaponization of inquiry.
It really is. It's not a rant. It's not an emotional plea saying, this is unfair. It's a list, a very long, very specific list of 124 critical thinking questions. Let's look at how these are structured, because they aren't just, why are you guys so bad?
No, they are forensic. They are designed like a prosecutor's cross-examination. They are designed to corner the respondent. They leave no wiggle room. Let's look at Group A, for example, which focuses on authority.
Question 1. Under which specific statutory provision of the Karnataka Societies Registration Act, 1960, or any other law in force, does the association claim authority to demand and hold copies of private registered sale deeds of its members?
Notice the phrasing. Under which specific statutory provision? He's not asking, can you do this? He's asking, cite the law. Show me the chapter and verse.
And we know they can't, because it doesn't exist. So they're completely trapped. If they answer none, they admit it's illegal. If they make one up, they're lying on the record.
Exactly. It forces them to go on record with an admission of wrongdoing, either directly or by omission. Then you have Group D, which is all about the money trails.
Question 22 is a great example. Why was the reported consideration for the transaction significantly below prevailing market rates, and what objective valuation basis was used to arrive at this figure?
Ouch. What objective valuation basis was used? That forces them to produce a valuation report.
Which they probably don't have.
Right. So if they say, we didn't do a valuation, they are admitting to gross negligence. How can you sell a community asset without even knowing what it's worth? And if they say, we did do one, then the next question is, okay, show us the report. Show us the report that says selling at 18th the price is a good idea for the community.
It's a complete lose-lose for the committee. And then you get to Group J. This one is what the source calls the ultimate question.
This one is aimed directly at the president. Can the president affirm on record that every material fact relating to the common areas and the financial transactions has been disclosed to the general body in a timely and transparent manner?
That is a trap. It's a classic perjury trap.
It absolutely is. If the president says yes, and later the tax authorities or a court finds out about the undeclared income or the undervalued sale, the president has now officially lied on a formal record. That's fraud. If he says no, he is admitting to a cover-up and suppression of facts.
And if he just stays silent, if they ignore all 124 questions.
The source calls that fiduciary dereliction. The silence itself becomes evidence. In a fiduciary context, you have a duty to account for your actions. Refusing to answer legitimate questions from the people you represent is a breach of that duty. It's like pleading the fifth. But in a civil governance context, that silence can absolutely be used against you as an admission of guilt or concealment.
And the document pairs these questions with that fiduciary failure and statutory exposure matrix. I just love that name.
It's a roadmap for a prosecutor. It's devastatingly effective. It's a spreadsheet that connects a specific action or inaction to the specific legal consequence.
So like one column is the action.
Right. Column A, action failure, and a row will say something like, no independent valuation conducted before transaction. Column in B, fiduciary duty breached, and it will say duty of care, duty of loyalty. and column C, statutory exposure, and it'll list Section 420 of the IPC, cheating, potential violations of Stamp Act.
Wow. It essentially drafts the charge sheet for the authorities. It says, if you did X, here is the exact section of the law you likely broke, and here is the penalty you are facing.
It's terrifyingly thorough. It transforms a complaint from a resident into a prepackaged legal weapon.
But what was the association's response to this 124-question legal missile? Seems to have been nothing. Which brings us to Section 6 of this saga, suppression of dissent.
The source claims that despite these repeated, detailed written representations, the MC has maintained a stonewall silence. They have neither confirmed nor denied the allegations.
They're ghosting their own shareholders, the people they're supposed to work for.
It's worse than ghosting. The source alleges that the minutes of the meetings were sanitized.
Sanitized. That means they edited them, they deleted the complaints from the official record.
That is the allegation. That when Chandranath raised these points vocally in meetings, the official record, the minutes that are circulated to all members, did not reflect his objections or the substance of his questions.
That is pure gaslighting. It's creating an alternate reality. You didn't complain? Look at the minutes. No complaint recorded.
It's also illegal. The minutes of a society meeting are a statutory record. They're supposed to be a faithful recording of what happened. Knowingly falsifying them is a serious offense. But the bigger, more philosophical issue here is the principle of informed consent.
Explain that. What does it mean in this context?
The general body, that is, all the homeowners together, are the ultimate decision makers in a housing society. They are the shareholders. They vote on the annual budget. They elect the committee. But they can only make valid decisions if they have all the material facts.
You can't consent to something if you don't know what you're consenting to.
Precisely. If you hide the fact that there's a 52 lakh transaction that carries a massive tax risk, the homeowners cannot make an informed decision when they vote to approve the annual accounts. You are depriving them of their fundamental right to govern their own community and their own property. You are manufacturing consent based on lies and omissions.
And the source uses some very, very strong language here, which I think is important. It talks about obstruction of justice.
Yes, this is where it gets into truly criminal territory. The argument laid out is this. If you know there's a formal allegation of criminal noncompliance like tax evasion, and you actively interfere with the preservation of records, or you delete minutes to hide the fact that the issue was raised, that could be seen as an act of obstructing a future investigation.
You're destroying the evidence before the police even show up.
And the source anticipates this. There is an explicit demand that all records, financial vouchers, meeting minutes, correspondence be preserved to avoid tampering. That is a heavy accusation. It implies that the author fully expects the MC to start shredding documents or deleting files.
When the stakes are personal liability and potential prosecution, the incentive to destroy evidence must be incredibly high. That is why the demand for preservation is so critical. It puts a legal hold on the documents. It puts them on notice that if a file goes missing now, it won't be seen as an accident. It will be seen as spoliation of evidence.
It's the final turn of the screw.
So after all this, we've arrived at the ultimatum, the closing demand for action. Chandranath isn't just asking for a meeting to talk it out over tea and biscuits. He has a list of non-negotiables.
It's a clear 4-point ultimatum. It's like a hostage negotiator laying down the terms. It's not a request. It's a demand.
What's number one?
Number one, return or delete. The sale deed copies must go. You have no right to them. You took them illegally. Get out of our private data.
Simple enough. You took it, give back. Number two.
Number two, disclose. Full transparent disclosure to the entire general body. Tell them about the 52.7 lakhs. Tell them the truth about the status of the common areas and the lack of a conveyance deed. No more secrets.
Sunshine is the best disinfectant, as they say. What's number three?
Number three, answer. Provide reason, point-by-point answers to the 124 critical thinking questions. Don't just send a one-line reply saying noted. Answer the questions specifically and put it on the record.
And the final demand.
And number four, preserve. Do not touch the evidence. Keep all records safe and intact pending further inquiry.
It sounds simple when you list them out like that, but for a committee that has allegedly been operating in this rogue fashion, this demands a complete dismantling of their entire operating model. It demands transparency where there has been opacity.
It demands they stop acting like feudal lords and start acting like fiduciaries. It demands accountability where there has been none.
So what does this all mean for us? For you, the listener, we've been deep in the weeds of Vasanth Vihar, looking at specific rupees and specific sections of law. But as we zoom out, this is such a powerful cautionary tale, isn't it?
Absolutely. This isn't just about bad bookkeeping in one neighborhood in one city. It's about a systematic failure of checks and balances that can happen anywhere. We often treat our HOA elections like a high school popularity contest or a chore we just want to avoid. Oh, let Uncle Bob be the president. He's a lot of time on his hands.
Right. We just want someone, anyone, to make sure the garbage gets picked up on time and the swimming pool is clean. We don't want to deal with the messy details ourselves.
But we forget that these people are fiduciaries. They are trustees. They are not just event planners. They hold your collective property value, your personal data privacy, and your shared legal liability in their hands. If they mess up the taxes, you pay the fines. If they lose the land title through a stupid transaction, your property value plummets.
And if they start acting like owners instead of trustees.
You end up with a phantom landlord, selling your community garden for spare change and leaving you and all your neighbors with the tax bill and a decade of lawsuits.
The biggest takeaway for me from all of this source material is the sheer power of this CTQ, the critical thinking question.
Yes, that is the tool the listeners should take home from this deep dive. Vague, emotional accusations are easy to ignore. If you just stand up in a meeting and yell, "You guys are corrupt," that's just noise. They can dismiss that. They can paint you as a disgruntled resident or a troublemaker.
But specific, written, numbered questions.
Under which section of the Act did you take this money? What was the valuation method used as documented in the report dated X? Please provide the minutes of the meeting where this expenditure was approved. That is a weapon. It creates a paper trail that cannot be easily erased. It forces the issue. So if you are ever in a dispute with any bureaucracy, not just an RWA, don't just complain. Ask specific, numbered questions and demand answers in writing.
It also highlights the incredible liability of the volunteer. I think a lot of people join these committees thinking it's just about, organizing the Diwali party or the Christmas potluck.
They don't realize they are walking into a minefield of statutory liabilities.
The source makes that so clear. Ignorance of the law is not a defense, especially after you've been formally warned in writing. If you are on a committee, you need to be asking yourself, do I really know where this money is coming from? Do we actually own the land that we are renting out? And did we remember to pay the GST on that income?
And if the answer to any of those is, I don't know, maybe you shouldn't be the one signing the annual balance sheet.
Precisely. Don't put your name and your personal assets on something you don't understand. And don't be afraid to be the one asking the awkward questions in the meeting. It might make you unpopular, but it might just save your community and yourself from disaster.
It's about being an active citizen, not just a passive resident.
We're going to leave you with a final thought to mull over. We've talked about the money, the deeds, the laws. But I want you to think about the culture of your own community for a second.
Think about the silence. Think about what isn't being said in your annual general body meetings.
If a large, unexplained sum of money, labeled refund of project money, landed in your community's bank account tomorrow, at, say, 1/8 of what seems to be the market value, and no one on the committee wanted to talk about it, ask yourself this.
Are you living in a housing society or are you living in a cover-up?
That is the question.
Yeah.
And on that rather cheery note, go check your meeting minutes, go read your bylaws. Thanks for listening to The Deep Dive. We'll see you next time.